Slipflow universe unfolds with drifting physical laws. Buildings stretch and contract like breathing organisms. Colors shift between muted and oversaturated without warning. Gravity pulses in soft waves, causing debris to rise and fall rhythmically. The reality level analyzer flashes red as temporal drift spikes, its display struggling to stabilize. Wind moves in pulses instead of currents, creating a stop-motion effect across the landscape. SHA-1 signatures glow beneath the ground in a faint, winding trail. The protagonist follows the resonance path through the distorted terrain as the slip-flow layer destabilizes around them. A region of the slip-flow layer collapses into static noise. Trees dissolve into fractal dust, and the sky flickers between multiple color palettes. The ground warps into jagged, pixel-like shards. The protagonist's suit registers coherence burn exposure as the reality level analyzer emits jagged alarm tones. The display shows a chaotic waveform indicating structural decay. SHA-1 particles swirl defensively around the protagonist, reacting to the collapse. A counter-coherence pulse stabilizes a narrow safe zone, allowing the protagonist to move through the decaying environment before it fully dissolves. A cavern-like chamber forms around a dense SHA-1 cluster. The walls ripple with multiversal echoes, voices, images, and fragmented memories from distant universes. Light bends in slow waves, illuminating the chamber with shifting blue tones. The reality level analyzer enters artifact mode, projecting a holographic map of intersecting echoes. SHA-1 particles pulse in synchronized waves, forming patterns that resemble molecular diagrams. The chamber trembles as the resonance intensifies, signaling imminent destabilization. The protagonist collects a sample and exits before the chamber collapses. A paradox cascade erupts, splitting the environment into overlapping versions of itself. Multiple timelines flicker simultaneously, each slightly out of sync. The protagonist sees duplicate versions of the same landscape phasing in and out. The reality level analyzer emits a piercing alarm as causality fractures. SHA-1 particles align into a protective lattice around the protagonist, allowing safe passage through the cascade. Time loops violently in unstable regions, forcing careful navigation through the shifting terrain.
The Echo Rift vectors are converging. XL-class threats incoming across 12 reality levels. I have to close the anomaly before they break through.
Crossing into a counterflow universe, the protagonist experiences inverted logic and reversed causality. Sound travels backward, creating unsettling echoes. Light bends inward, forming spirals around the protagonist's silhouette. The reality level analyzer glitches, displaying symbols instead of numbers. SHA-1 particles behave erratically, forming spirals that defy geometry. The environment pulses with contradictory physics, requiring the protagonist to stabilize perception and move carefully through the inverted landscape. A native counterflow entity approaches, an abstract, shifting form that mimics the protagonist's movements with a half-second delay. Its surface ripples like liquid metal, distorting the environment around it. The reality level analyzer identifies it as a coherence predator, a being that feeds on structural instability. SHA-1 resonance flares, creating a repulsive field that forces the entity back. The protagonist retreats toward a more stable region before the creature adapts to the resonance field. The protagonist reaches the edge of a Nullflow universe. Everything is silent, colorless, and collapsing into informational entropy. Structures crumble into fine gray dust. The reality level analyzer's display dims, struggling to read anything in the near-zero coherence environment. SHA-1 particles drift toward a central void, indicating a deeper anomaly. The protagonist steps into the Nullflow layer, moving carefully through the collapsing terrain as the environment dissolves into static. At the center of the Nullflow layer lies a massive SHA-1 structure, an impossible molecular lattice spanning kilometers. It pulses with multiversal signatures, each beat sending ripples through the environment. The reality level analyzer enters a previously unknown mode, projecting TrueFlow patterns across the air. The protagonist studies the lattice as the Nullflow layer trembles. The core awakens, resonating with a deep harmonic tone that shakes the surrounding terrain. The reality level analyzer reveals that TrueFlow is shaped by SHA-1 interactions across universes. Holographic projections show universes forming, merging, and collapsing in rhythmic cycles. SHA-1 acts as the connective tissue binding them. The protagonist records the revelation as the Nullflow layer destabilizes further. The ground fractures, and the sky folds inward, signaling an imminent XL class rupture. The protagonist prepares for evacuation. A massive echo rift rupture forms above the SHA-1 core. Universes overlap violently, creating chaotic flashes of Primeflow, Slipflow, and Counterflow states. The reality level analyzer warns of imminent multiversal collapse. SHA-1 particles surge upward, attempting to reinforce the rupture. The protagonist activates emergency stabilization protocols as the rupture expands, pulling fragments of multiple universes into its center. A coherence collapse wave sweeps across the Nullflow layer, erasing entire regions in seconds. The environment dissolves into static as the protagonist races toward the rift exit. The reality level analyzer emits continuous alarms, its display flickering between corrupted symbols. SHA-1 particles form a protective shield that absorbs the collapse wave long enough for escape. The protagonist pushes through the collapsing terrain as the Nullflow layer implodes behind them. The protagonist emerges into a chaotic overlap zone where multiple universes flicker in and out. Landscapes shift between Primeflow forests, Slipflow cities, and Counterflow voids. The reality level analyzer displays all reality levels simultaneously, creating a dense multiversal map. SHA-1 resonance guides the protagonist toward a narrow corridor of relative stability. The environment pulses with rapid transitions, requiring precise movement to avoid unstable regions. The protagonist enters the heart of the XL-class Echo Rift. Inside, universes fold like origami, creating layered corridors of impossible geometry. The reality level analyzer displays the TrueFlow pattern in full clarity. SHA-1 particles merge into a single coherent structure, illuminating the rift's origin point. The environment pulses with multiversal tension as the protagonist prepares for direct intervention. The protagonist channels the SHA-1 structure into the rift's core. The reality level analyzer emits a harmonic resonance that aligns the surrounding universes. The rupture begins to close as coherence stabilizes. Multiversal collapse halts. The protagonist maintains the resonance field until the rift seals completely, restoring structural integrity across the affected layers.